Well, it was turbulent, it was threatening. The fact is we stood at the edge of an economic cliff and we had the prospect of a Great Depression Mark II. We were one of the first out of the blocks with a powerful response. I guess one night above all stands out. I was in Washington at the height of the crisis and I needed to phone into the cabinet meeting taking place in Canberra, which was going to sign off on our first stimulus package and bank guarantees. Now, for some reason, the embassy was only able to set up a secure phone line in the basement bedroom of a teenage child of a senior embassy official. So there I was, sitting on the bed, briefing the cabinet on the international outlook, my meetings in Washington, and talking them through our yet-to-be-announced stimulus package. And I looked up at the wall and I thought, it just can't get any more bizarre than this. There I was, staring at this Jimi Hendrix poster, and being the mad rock and roll fan that I am, I couldn't get out of my head his version of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. I can hear it now. There must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the thief.
There's too much confusion. I can't get no relief.
Now, in many ways, those words capture what it was like at that time. It just seemed like every time we got a win, another international disaster was only just around the corner. Well, I'm a baby boomer, and like many of my mates, we're all massive Springsteen fans. We were all raised with the horror stories of the Great Depression, and like Springsteen, I always felt a sense of accountability and responsibility to the people that I grew up with. And it's that sense of accountability and responsibility that was the driving motivation behind our actions during the GFC. I, like every other member of the Federal Parliamentary Labor Party, was absolutely determined to do whatever it took to spare the people that I grew up with and the wider community from the horrors of another Great Depression. In that sense, there's no other event or action that defines our modern Labor Party's values and motivations more than our response to the GFC. Well, I certainly appreciate those comments from Paul, but I think it's fair to say that without the reforms from Bob and Paul that they introduced over a period of time, Australia wouldn't have been in the strong economic position we were going into 2007 and 2008. So I think in many ways that's something that's overlooked all too often when people look at Australia's performance during and after the global financial crisis. The truth is, we didn't come through that crisis by luck. It was a series of economic reforms and actions primarily put in place by Labor governments that have created the economic framework for Australia to weather the crisis and to prosper. Well, a few years ago, working with Larry Summers and the Centre for American Progress, we examined the rise of income inequality across the developed world, and in particular, the destruction of the middle class in the United States. That report showed that Australia had done a far better job of matching growth with equity than most other developed countries. So last month, working with the Chifley Research Centre, we released a new report, Inequality, the Facts and the Future. And that report showed that in Australia there are now worrying signs of greater inequality, and that what we need here is new policy frameworks for inclusive prosperity, that when we grow strongly, we grow together.